Okay, the next pattern to show you is the grey duster. It's got a rabbit's fur body and a badger hackle around the front. Important point about this, it has no tail. People tie it with its tail and it's still a very good fly. But without a tail, there's no support on the back end and it sinks in the water like that. And this is almost like a parachute hackle. And the body then looks like a sort of, well, an emerger really, like a nymph struggling out through the surface film. It's suspended really in the water. Now this fly has sort of been superseded by the clink hammer, a more modern type of fly. But I can assure you, well, the clink hammer is a bit harder to tie. For someone new to fly tying, this is a fantastic fly because it's quite easy and it's just as effective as a clink hammer. But anyway, that's that. So I'm going to start. I have already put some wax on the silk. I'll just add a bit more because it's a dubbed body. The thread I'm using is black. It's the usual uni thread 80 of mine. I'm showing you this one because it's a new reel and the label is still on. The label's come off this one. The hook is a size 12 down eye. I normally tie this on a 14 or a 16 for normal fishing, but this is a good fly even during a mayfly or a large fly hatch, March brown or something like that. Not many March browns around on our river, but we do get the odd few. But even during a mayfly hatch, which we definitely don't get, the grey duster is as good as any mayfly. You don't need to worry about that, and I can tell you for certain because I first met this fly in the 70s when I was fishing the upper lug in Prestine, Powys, and there's a very good hatch of mayfly there. I didn't know how to tie mayfly at the time, but this grey duster, a size 12, was as good as anything, and fish were actually picking it out from the natural mayflies. Don't quite know why, but they were. Now it's always fish dry, and if you do put any gink or floatant on it, just on the hackle, because you want the body to sink and hang in the surface film. But as I say, if you want to tie it with a tail, it'll be supported and it's still a damn good dry fly. I'm very enthusiastic about this fly, to be truthful with you, and if I or anybody wanted to be a one fly man, this would be the one. It's really good fly. Now because of the way it sits in the surface film as an emerger, and well, it's suspended in the surface film as a suspender, like a suspender if you like, it's trout rise confidently to it because like all emergers, I mean the hare's ear is another, the trout know that it cannot take off and they go for it confidently but in a sort of leisurely way. Okay, here we go. Usual behind the eye, 3 forward, 1, 2, 3, 3 back and down towards the bend. Now because this hangs in the surface film, we can go well around the bend, or well to the bend anyway. I'll just nip off this bit here. Now because I fish it dry, and it is a dry fly, I don't hackle it, I don't rib it with wire, I like to rib with silk. And I'm going to use a blue silk because if you read the Courtney Williams book, who talks a lot about this fly, he says the body, which is dubbed from rabbit fur, I'll show you this in a moment, should have, and to use his words, a modicum of blue. That's the blue sort of under fur. in the rabbit. So if we're going to select a silk to rib this fly, and a rib is always an advantage where you've got a dubbed body, I would suggest you use blue. That gives you the colour. But if you want to use a grey, that would be okay as well. The rib isn't intended to show up. It's there to give a little bit of protection to the body. Anyway, that's grey. Now, just while I'm talking to you with this in my hand, you will see on nearly all my silks and tinsels this plastic, which keeps them together. And this is simply a plastic pipe which you'd buy from a caravan or a camping shop. They use them to take water away. Cut it in half, not in half, just cut off the width you want, then down the middle, so you've got that which goes on your silks, on your tinsels, without doing any damage, and it stops them all coming apart and fraying and in your kit. Okay, we're back to the rib. I'm going to cut off a bit of rib, ready to tie in. It's a very easy fly to tie, well, in my opinion. No time tying this silk in. I'm going up and under and over, and I'm going to draw it down like that till I get it so far, and I'm going to tie it down to secure it. Just like that. Notice I'm going pretty well towards the bend. Just cut off that bit of blue silk. This is my... You won't see the blue silk in the tie, and that's my personal little thing. Okay, rabbit's fur. Lovely piece of rabbit here, given to me by my friend Norman West. It's I don't know where he got it from, but he's always a good source of materials. Okay, tear bits off like this. Just pull it off. Usual procedure. Don't want very much. I like to add a little at a time. You see how much I've got? It's sort of transparent, almost invisible. But one thing about rabbit is it's a very nice, easy fur to dub. It goes on easily because it sort of clings to itself. Okay, I'm going to wind it on. Let's get this rib out of the way. Now you see I'm a good way round the bend. You see that? If you want a thicker body, let's tighten it up a bit. If you want a thicker body, you give more winds. You don't put more dubbing on. As I've said earlier, most people get too much dubbing material in their hands, and the saying in our club, in our fly tying class, is pick off the amount of dubbing you think you're going to need, then half it. And we got one or two bright boys who say, and half it again. And I tell you what, they're not far wrong. You see what's happening here? Giving it a nice easy body to dub. Lovely to dub. Okay, I'm now going to rib it with the blue silk. This gives that little bit of a blue colour and protects the rabbit fur. Don't know why this has a magical effect on trout, but it certainly does. After using it in Powys, or is Prestine in Herefordshire, I'm not quite sure. I think it probably is. I then started using it in my home rivers in South Wales. If you wanted to, you could rough it up a little bit like this, prick some out. Doesn't really matter. If you want to do that, you can. Okay, now the hackle. It's a standard hackle, and it's called a badger hackle. Now, This, I don't know if you can see, this is a sort of creamy. I got a feeling it may be coming out as brown on the camera. But it's creamy. A badger is this hackle with a black running through it. A black centre like that. You can get a white one. You can get various ones. This is a saddle hackle from the rooster, from his rump, if you like. And I like it because it's they're always, well, pretty good quality. Got a little bit of silk there. Let me nip that off. Anyway, back to the hackle. Can you see that? That's a perfect one there. You get about 6-8 flies from one hackle, but these are expensive to buy, especially for a starter. So there are cheaper ones. This is a Chinese badger. You can it's more white. Can you see the black still going through it? This will do the job just as well, but you'll get smaller hackles out of this. Anyhow, they're badger hackles, which is what this fly calls for. I'll just take one out of the neck. And there we are. This is our hackle. So that's the only other ingredient of the fly, is this hackle. I strip it to give me a bit of grip. Strip the fluff off the bottom end. Bump, as my friend Gilbert calls it. Get the bump off it. I think it's the original meaning of bum fluff, I don't know. Okay, there's our hackle ready to tie on. Now I put it on this way, figure of 8 if you can. And the shiny good side is facing forward and the concave side is back. I'm going to give it another figure of 8 like that. And now see the stalk? I'm going to bend the stalk back and tie it down, which will give it the lock. Just a couple like that. So there we are, that's the lock. And now I'm going to nip off this stalk. A bit of waste there. Okay, I'll take my silk to the front. And we'll tie the hackle. I don't use hackle pliers very often, but I should use them now and again to demonstrate them. You just clip your hackle on like that and wind them around. If you've got a nice long hackle, you don't need a hackle pliers. You can handle it okay. But we will use the hackle pliers here just to demonstrate it. I'm coming towards the front all the time to about there, where I will tie it off. Give it a couple of turns to secure it. I'll nip off the hackle. Usual procedure, go in with the scissors closed. Nip it like that, and now I draw it back. A little bit of damp on the fingers draws it all back nicely. And now I wind nice and tight, nice tight turns to make the head. While they're temporarily drawn back like that, I'll put on my whip finish. And when I put on a whip finish, as you know, I usually, if I remember, get my varnish ready. I got several varnishes that I use. This is as good as any. I get my dubbing needle ready to dip in the varnish. And this is the way I do my whip finish. I just fold over. That is now supporting the bobbin holder, and I just wind towards the front of the eye. Just like that. I find it quite easy to do this, but I found it difficult to learn. I learned it from a book, as I've said before. I dip my needle in the varnish, so as I draw it up, the varnish is now being wiped off the needle and securing that, just securing it there. Usual procedure, cutting the silk open to a gape, tight up against the fly. That way you won't cut any hackles, or hardly any, because the hackles will move away from the scissors, and the scissors will just cut where the tension is, which will be on this silk. Okay, I will now add a bit more varnish to the head, drop more I suppose I should say. Don't need a lot. A touch here and there. That's it. Put the top on the varnish. And as usual, any old piece of hackle to ensure the eye is clear, up through the eye, draw it, and it wipes it clear. I don't think it was blocked, but it often gets blocked. Now, generally speaking, I would wait until the varnish is a bit dry before I draw these hackles into position. But before I do, I'll just point out one or two things. You notice how the body is well around the bend. Not right around, but it's, you know, it's a bit further than normal. And you notice it's badger hackle. The rabbit's fur is good, and there's a little bit of blue showing on the rib, just a little. That's it. As I say, it hangs in the surface film like that. But I'm going to be honest, it doesn't matter how it hangs, it's how you just cast it, and you'll find the fish will take it. I've tied it on a 12 to give you, hopefully you can see it a bit better than if I did it on a 14 or a 16. But I generally do a 14 and a 16 unless there's large flies on the water. Okay, basically that's it, and hope you picked up a few tips. Go for this fly. I recommend it. Easy to tie, ideal for a newcomer, and as good as any fly you could get your hands on. Thank you for watching.